thought with all of the religious horror movies that we seem to be getting this year, we could celebrate that a little bit and show some appreciation to some of them, and we could rank them. It has been so long since I have done a classic Possessed by Horror tier list, so we're going to be doing that today, and these are some of my favorite videos to film. I just ran out of ideas for them, so if you can think of any other tier lists, make sure I haven't done it before. I'll leave the playlist down below because I've done so many of them. Now, this video isn't necessarily ranking all religious horror movies because I feel like that would just take way too long and I need to do it by like subcategory. So today specifically, we're going to be ranking exorcism movies, not possession movies, not demonic possession, not religious, exorcism movies. So they have to have a scene with an exorcism. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm a fan of these kind of movies, even if they're kind of cheesy. I don't know why. I really don't know why. It's kind of like a running joke with my partner and I that we just like bad exorcism movies. Let's just jump on into it. We have 17 movies to rank in this tier list, so let's go. As always, you know my tier names do not make any sense, but it is the classic ranking of best to worst. So if you don't like the names, that's fine. I just like to have a little fun with it. This is boring. This is boring to me. So first category, these are the best of the best exorcism movies. We're gonna be calling this True Evil. Next up, we have Second Coming. Get it? It's like Second Coming of Christ, but it's also in second place, in the second tier. I don't know. I really tried my best. We're gonna be doing Last Rites. So this is like your last options that are actually still kind of okay and decent if you had to pick out of these. And then obviously the bottom tier, God Have Mercy. Just the worst of the worst. Like, not even watchable, really. Okay, now that we have our tiers set up, let's get into the actual rankings. So first up, we're gonna go with The Last Exorcism. So this is a found footage. I have a couple found footage exorcism movies. Did you know that some of them existed? But The Last Exorcism, this is one of my favorites, actually. I think this movie is great as a found footage movie. I think it is great as an exorcism movie. I think she shows possession so well. She's actually also, the actress is a contortionist, so I feel like she pulls off the exorcism stereotypes a little bit better than maybe we've seen in other movies. So no surprise what tier it's going in. True Evil, just one of the best in both categories of found footage and exorcism movies. Next up, we have classic, The Exorcist. I don't know what order these are in, so I'm just kind of pulling from the side. I don't know. But The Exorcist, I mean, come on. It's the original. Genuinely, I think this movie still holds up. I think this movie, I watched it within the last like 5 years probably, and I think it is still terrifying. And it would be doing it a disservice to put it in any other tier than True Evil, because I think it's disturbing and messed up. Next, we have The Devil Inside. Okay, so this is the other found footage exorcism movie. I just rewatched this the other day because I had seen it years ago and couldn't really remember it, so I rewatched it. And you know what? It's bad, okay? But for found footage movie, because as you know, I say this all the time, it's my favorite subgenre. So yes, I'm going to go a little easy on it because it is indeed found footage, and I am a sucker for found footage. I can't help it, guys. I can't help it. But is it kind of bad? Yeah. But what tier do I put it in? I don't know. I can't put it in Second Coming. I think I'm going to put it in Last Rites. Like, it's good for me. Like, I would rewatch this movie, but technically, on a technical level, it's not a great exorcism movie. I think it is a little bit too cliche. Next, we have The Pope's Exorcist. We've got a couple of Russell Crowes in here. So The Pope's Exorcist, listen, I actually kind of enjoyed this movie. Did I give it 3 stars? I don't know what I gave it, but I kind of enjoyed it. I do think Russell Crowe is really good in this one and maybe better than, well, we'll get to the other Russell Crowe exorcism movie in a second. But Pope's Exorcist, what tier do I put this in? I'm gonna put it in Second Coming. You know what? This is my tier list. They're always a little bit controversial and everyone always has something to say, but I think it's decent. It's a decent movie, and I think people are going to write it off as like being really cheesy because we've gotten so many religious horrors lately that people are just like overwhelmed. Especially, we're getting 2 Russell Crowe exorcism movies in 1 year. It's like, well, within a year of each other, you know? But this one, The Pope's Exorcist, was actually filmed after The Exorcism, which we will get to. Okay, next we have The Conjuring. So when I was making this list, I had kind of forgotten that these are technically possession exorcism movies. I see them more as like supernatural movies. Classic Conjuring, I think, is one of the better exorcism movies in the entire franchise. The basement scene with the chair, I think it's really good. I know some people see it as like not that great. I am actually going to put it in Second Coming because I think there are better Conjuring movies. Well, there's one better Conjuring movie. But the OG Conjuring is really good, obviously. I have a personal preference and I want to put that one in top tier. But yeah, you can't go wrong with The Conjuring. Next we have The Exorcism of Molly Hartley. If you've been around for a while, you know that The Haunting of Molly Hartley is one of my favorite bad movies to recommend to people when you want a bad movie. Sometimes that's just what you want. It's one of my most rewatched movies for whatever reason. I don't really know. The soundtrack and the score of The Haunting of Molly Hartley is so good. I listened to that like after watching the movie. But then you get to The Exorcism of Molly Hartley, and it is god awful. First of all, they recast the role of Molly Hartley, so Haley Bennett is no longer Molly Hartley. That was a travesty in itself, but thank God, because she should not be associated with this movie at all. I think that would have been so damaging to her career. So I'm actually kind of grateful that they just made this garbage dumpster fire of a movie without Haley Bennett. This is not even worth a watch. It's not. I promise. It's not good at all. Not a fan. God have mercy. Please, God, no. Next, we have The Vatican Tapes. This one feels very found footage to me because some of it is filmed. I don't know. It's not found footage. I'm not sure. It's like Chernobyl Diaries. People think Chernobyl Diaries is a found footage movie and it's not. It just feels so much like it. Even I've put it in found footage videos before. So I make that mistake all the time because some of it is actually found footage, and that's the same thing with this one. Some of it is found footage, but the movie itself is technically not a found footage movie. Anyway, The Vatican Tapes, it's not great. It's not great, I'm not gonna lie. Actually, funny, because she was also in Chernobyl Diaries. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. I don't know. I don't think it's God Have Mercy bad, but maybe Last Rites? I don't know. I think it has entertainment value, and that's why I want to put it in Last Rites, because it is worth something. Like, the last tier has to be, like, unwatchable movies and be really harsh on it. And I feel like Vatican Tapes, you could watch it. It's okay. Okay, next up we have The Possession. So this one is really interesting because it is the only one that I can think of that is actually a Jewish demon. So it's a Dybbuk box, and they use the Jewish religion in this movie. Still kind of a classic exorcism type scene, so that's really interesting. But for once, it's not Catholicism, because I feel like all the religious horror we usually get is Catholicism. But there are some really good Jewish religious horror movies. The Vigil is one. I think that's streaming on Hulu. I really enjoyed that. It's very supernatural. Not exorcism or anything, otherwise it'd be in this list. But The Possession, I think, is fantastic. I love this movie. I was actually really surprised by it, and it has Jeffrey Dean Morgan in it, which him and Russell Crowe, I feel like, are just exorcism, I was gonna say daddies, but that's not really my personality. I just realized my microphone was all the way on the other side of the room. All the way on the other side of the room. So I don't know what kind of audio we just got for the beginning of this tier list, but hopefully it's better now. Great. Anyway, The Possession, definitely going to go under True Evil. I think it is a great exorcism movie, great religious horror, great movie, just great movie, solid. Next up, we have The Exorcist Believer. So fun fact, I don't have all of the exorcism movies or exorcist movies on this list because I have not seen the entire franchise, but we do have a couple, one of them being The Exorcist Believer. Listen, there were some scenes that were okay, but honestly, I just wasn't a fan. I'm sorry, I just really wasn't. It's not as bad as The Exorcism of Molly Hartley, but I think I have to put it in the bottom tier because it wasn't good. I feel like, okay, it was David Gordon Green that did that movie, right? I'm pretty sure. And I liked what he did with Halloween, but I think after this movie came out and it bombed really bad, people just decided he decided he wasn't gonna do the movies anymore. So fair. It's not the worst one in that bottom tier, but I wouldn't recommend it, you know? Next up, The Conjuring 2. This one this one. This is the one. I love this movie so much. I think it is the superior Conjuring movie. It's a great exorcism movie. I love this. Some of the scenes in this are truly still haunting to this day. So obviously it's going in true evil. It is fantastic. Next we have, oh, here's the other Russell Crowe movie, The Exorcism. Literally just came out this year. I haven't talked about it yet on the channel, and I will. I'm going to be putting it in a like smaller video where I do like the 4 movies that I've watched recently from this year to highlight some more indie horror. I'm going to be talking about this one in that as well. So I'm not going to say too much, but it had potential. It definitely had potential. It wasn't the worst religious horror movie in the world. I'm not gonna lie. Again, this was filmed before The Pope's Exorcist, which I found really interesting. The concept for this alone was so good, where he is an actor filming a reboot of The Exorcist, basically. I don't feel like they say that in the movie, but it's implied. And I think that concept's really cool. And then it's like the set is cursed, and it just plays into the idea that like sets are cursed and like things actually happen on set. So I liked the concept personally. I am gonna put it in last rites. It was okay, and you'll know more about my thoughts in a video soon. Next, we have The Exorcist 3. Okay, so I really wanted to watch this for this video, and I thought it was just gonna be fine. I've just heard really good things about The Exorcist 3, which is why I skipped the second one, because I know that one's more of a direct sequel to The Exorcist, and this one is a little bit different. This movie, I'm obsessed with this movie. I gave it 5 out of 5. This movie is perfection. Like, I loved everything about this. The horror in this was so good. Like, I want more horror movies to follow suit with this, because there weren't a lot of daytime scenes, first of all, but there weren't like booming music when something scary happens. This movie blew me away, honestly. I was so happy that I watched this movie this year. It's going to be in probably my top 10 of the entire year that I've watched that are new to me. Just great. If you've ever thought about watching this movie and you haven't yet, please go watch it. You should watch the original, because it does refer back to that and like the priest in that and everything. But I feel like you could still get enjoyment out of it even if you haven't watched the original. Obviously, this is gonna go up here, and personally, it should probably go like all the way over here. It should go like top, 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 but I don't really do rankings within the tiers personally. But just know that's like one of my #1 exorcism movies of all time. Next, we have The Last Exorcism Part 2. So while the first one is fantastic, found footage movie, what did they do with this one? What did they do with it? It's not a found footage movie anymore. It becomes really weird. I was not a fan of this. Fun fact though, you know, it was my first date with my current partner, so that's fun. We went and watched this movie on my birthday in 2013. So, you know, it has nostalgia for me. I own it on DVD because of that, because of the nostalgia aspect of it, but realistically, worst movie. It's so bad. And unfortunately, I'm not gonna let nostalgia blind me this time. I'm gonna put it in God Have Mercy. It's really bad. It's a really bad sequel. One of the worst sequels, up there with Exorcism of Molly Hartley. Just would never recommend it to anyone. The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. This movie is what I like to call a blah movie. Like, I literally felt nothing. I felt nothing after watching this. It was so nothing to me, and that's very bad. That's a bad place to— I'd almost rather feel like strong hatred towards a movie than just blasé about it. Like, it was fine. It was fine. It was fine. It was literally fine. It was kind of boring. It was just boring. I'm gonna put it in last rites. It was just not great. It was not great. Next we have The Unholy. Another Jeffrey Dean Morgan exorcism movie. This one had potential, okay? I'm sure there's an audience for it. Wasn't me. This is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. I know that's so harsh, but how often do I say that? Like, literally, how often do I say that? It's just, I did not like this movie at all. Yeah, nothing about it. Nothing about it. It's going in God Have Mercy. I gave it 1 star. That's really low for me. I'm usually kind of generous. I hated that movie. Hated it. Now, The Exorcism of Emily Rose. This movie, this is one of the only movies that has ever gotten to me that much. I watched this in high school. I literally had to go for a walk after I watched this. I was like, And I've never watched it since. I own it, right? I think I own it. Yeah, I do. It's right here. I own it. Haven't rewatched it since. I want to. I don't know why it got to me so much. I'm not religious. Personally, I don't believe in God. I know. But this is one that like kind of bothered me. I don't know if it was the performance or what, but it was great. It was a great experience, very horrifying. Maybe up there with like the scariest movies I've seen. Again, I was in high school, so I'd probably have to rewatch it to see if it would still be one of the scariest movies I've ever seen, but it's obviously going in true evil. Okay, this is our last exorcism movie we're gonna be ranking. We have Pray for the Devil. I get what they were going for with this movie, and again, it was fine, but overall, I was kind of disappointed. I did a whole video on, did I do a whole video on it? Did I review this? I think I made a review on it. Any reviews I have for these, I'll list them down below if you're curious about my further thoughts on them, or if you just really need to know. But this one was just fine. It was okay, and just disappointing. It wasn't for me, okay? Again, I understand what they were going for, but it didn't really work for me personally. Some of it ended up being really cheesy in the end, and just the way I wasn't a fan. I'm gonna put it in last rights. I'm sorry. It's not my movie, you know? I'm surprised Second Coming doesn't have more movies in it, to be honest. I thought I would be a little bit heavier up top and less on the bottom. I thought I only would have like 1 or 2 movies for God Have Mercy, not gonna lie. But I forgot. I forgot all the movies that I had chosen. So that's my ranking of exorcism movies, not possession, not just religious, but just exorcism movies. Please let me know how you would rank some of these movies, or if any stood out to you that you have major thoughts on. Please leave a comment, and please, please, please give me more tier list ideas. I love filming these so much for you, and I want to do more, and especially in the spooky season or like in the end of the year, I don't know. Let me know if you have any tier list ideas. Make sure to check out the playlist of all of them that I've done already down below, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.